Thank you so much for being here. This is the regular scheduled meeting for the Floresville City Council for March the 28th, 2019. I now call this meeting to order. In attendance, we have Mrs. Gloria Cantu, we have myself, Mayor Sissy Gonzalez-Dipple, Mrs. Martinez, and Ms. Jimenez. Please rise for our invocation, Mr. Bob Herndon, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge.
Let us pray, please. Our most precious Heavenly Father, dear Lord, we are so grateful for this day, Lord. We are so grateful for the rain that you have blessed us with this last month. I ask that you take this council meeting and may we conduct it in a manner that would be pleasing to you. Just be kind and considerate to all those around us, even sometimes we might not agree with their thoughts. I ask now that you go through this for the remainder of this day and into tomorrow. We give in many ways I'll help you in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. We do have a quorum at tonight's meeting, and at this time, we'll open the floor for any citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for any citizens. I'll give you 5 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, council members, mayor, city manager, city attorney, city staff, and guests. My name is Sherry Castillo, and I'm a resident of Floresville. I'm here to speak on behalf of Frost Bank, Agenda Item G. Item G states it's a CNA to terminate the financial advisory services with Frost Bank. I have nothing to gain from Frost or anyone else by speaking other than I am a citizen of the city and want the best for our city. I may not be able to answer your technical questions, but technical information is secondary when building a long-term relationship. Frost Bank is a 150-year-old bank with a continued future in banking on tradition. There are 4 C's of relationship banking: credit, capital, collateral, and character. According to legend, the American financier J.P. Morgan asked what he considered the best bank collateral. He replied, character. Mr. Joe Frost stated in the early 20s, when you assess a customer, get the facts about the customer's character. That way you avoid mistakes. Do business with people of good character. They have a track record of success. When they succeed, so will we. Mr. Joe's great-nephew, Tom Frost Jr., tells a story of a loan applicant with a capital or collateral who sat in his office pleading for credit. What about my character, the applicant demanded. I thought you make loans based on character. Character, the banker responded, is what got you into that chair. It's the beginning, not the end. So my point on telling you this is that we have built the city's relationship with Frost for 5 years. And maybe we've done business with them before, I'm not sure. But we want to thank Mr. Quiroga for that introduction when he moved to Frost 5 years ago. We followed him, and now he's moving again to another company as managing director for the advisory firm of Specialized Public Finances, a company incorporated 11 years ago in 2008 based in Austin. And he's asking to move our account with him. Let me suggest some pointers as to why it's important to stay with Frost and not the person. Frost has the resources, capital strength of $3.5 billion. Victor's firm is a group of individual operators that distributes annual earnings to each financial advisor. There's no real capital to keep a group together, like a doctor or a lawyer group. When things get tough, they disband. Frost is consistent versus moving from firm to firm every 5 years. Frost has the most active trading desk in Texas. Municipal bonds translate to the best price of discovery and therefore the lowest cost of borrowing to the city. Frost focuses on Texas issuers. Frost retains Victor's past 2 analytical support staff with Duncan Morrow and Kevin Escobar. As you'll know, on your last report, Kevin Escobar was on your financial report. He and Mr. Morrow date back to 2012. These two bankers are successful and have worked all the quantitative and technical aspects of City of Floresville and have remained with Frost. The City of Floresville is a significant account relationship to Frost. Frost has invested in City of Floresville bonds in its long-term buy and hold an investment portfolio, so the city's success is tied to Frost's success. Don Frost stated, "I can promise the city that the Frost team will provide top quality service and attention to this relationship. Frost is one of the last financial providers that knows we are only as good as our customers, and we would be proud to serve the City of Floresville." Frost has a contract with the city until 2020, and all Frost is asking for is the opportunity to provide service until the term of the contract, and then the council can assess the service and decide if they want to continue with Frost. So I am asking for your continued support to invest in a long-term relationship. Thank you.
Any other citizen comments?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members and those here present. I'm here in regard to the items on the agenda E and F. As you know, I'm also this board member on this too, where the money was requested. In regard to item E, the hotel motor tax was $5,100. That's what it was asked, and that's what we granted. And they provide good income and rooms for the motel here locally, and it's a good activity that happens apparently every month. However, also at that time, we had the one item F for $6,000 that also was granted as such. It was a question in regard to this, that discrepancy, why one requester was getting more than the other one. We granted exactly what they asked for, number one. Number two, there are two different types of event. One event is a sport, the other one is music or entertainment. The sport have different costs and costs. However, I would like to mention that the T&B Entertainment with Channel 12, they stream the sport event worldwide, and they got over 40,000 viewers to know about Floresville. Also, the bar at the event center was open. One bar, because they were expecting about 500 or 600 people, it turned out to be that they have about 1,500 people came in. So they got caught off guard. But they got well over $5,000 in sales within 2 hours, which is a good record. If they have about 5 bars, the number would have been much larger. So I understand that the sport event got, more costs involved, and this is what the money was granted. At the same time, it so happened that the event center is booked for a longer period of time, so there's no open space for them to come back. Where we can be again, have the opportunity to stream and put the name of Floresville worldwide, like it happened from the Channel 12 when they informed me that they had 40,000 viewers saw the event. So what I'm requesting is that both of them be paid as we voted for this evening.
Yeah. Any other citizen comments?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, ladies, and Ms. Turner. My name is Claudia Garza, and I was here because my interest, not that everything we're discussing is not, but mine currently is with the hike and bike trail that we have. I had the pleasure of meeting a gentleman that is with the El Camino Real de los Tejas National Historic Trail community. and it was really an inspiring visit we had with Mrs. Turner. Basically, he, and let me just read this. It was a little section that he gave, that Floresville was honored as, to be designated as a model trail community by El Camino Real de los National Historic Trail Association in 2014. So, since we do have the hike and bike trail, and it is being used, I think what his hope is to really enhance what we have right now. And so he has a taco travel, which is in October, but hopefully if we can get more people to actually visit the trail and use the bike and the hike trail, which it needs some help, but that's also in the making. Also, I just wanted to let you know that at some point he wants to have like 7 to 10 members of the community to be part of his little chapter to continue with the city to help this take off. So I just wanted to make a little announcement to you all that in the future that this gentleman, Mr. Reagan, who's very knowledgeable of all the missions that also we have, the missions that take place, the mission de los Capas. So that's part of one of the aspects, the educational part, the recreational part, the geography, and I think it would only benefit Floresville altogether, but the school outings and stuff like that. Mrs. Councilman Jimenez, you would know about that too. So I think it's a win-win situation for Floresville to help this gentleman and his group to get started. So that's what I have to bring to the table.
So
Thank you.
if I may, Claudia, she's been after me for some time to come join us on some projects, and the hiking bike has been her passion. And so you are all familiar with Steve, who comes down from Camino Real, and you agreed earlier for the signs. Well, there's only one community in the state of Texas that has a 2.9 miles of trail, a historical trail within its boundaries, and that is Floresville. We also have the largest and one of the oldest, and there's only one other model community that's being active, and it's another city downstate, but they want us to be a leader in this. And so he's asked me to set up a committee, and they're going to be free memberships, is what he said, to help us support it. So what I'd like to know is, Claudia said she would definitely be one of the members. She's recruiting others to come back before you to ask to do that. So this new committee would focus on the hike and bike trail. And so if you all are amenable to that, we'll present that to you at the next council meeting. And Claudia says she wants to be one of the members.
Most definitely. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, appreciate it. Any other citizens comment? Okay, if not, moving on to item 1A, old business, consideration action to approve the minute meetings of the regular council meeting on March the 28th, 2018. Council, you have before you some of you have the minutes. Hopefully you have a chance to look them over. I'll give you a moment before I entertain a motion to accept or deny or change any changes. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the minutes for the regular council meeting on March 28th.
I have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Cantu. Do I have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Mrs. Martinez. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Moving on to presentations, item 2A, Floresville High School Cadet Colonel Zoe Martinez. I know Councilwoman Martinez, you've had a lot of connection with this. And unfortunately, she couldn't make it here tonight because of a National Honor Society event. But we would like to congratulate Cadet Colonel Zoe Martinez on her selection to the United States Military Academy West Point Class of 2023. This milestone is a culmination of an arduous application process where only a handful of cadets from around the country are selected each year. With this selection, Zoe joins the ranks of our nation's finest military officers like Eisenhower, Lee, Grant, MacArthur, Patton, and Buzz Aldrin, who graduated from this prestigious institution. We wish the entire Martinez family success in this exciting new venture, and I know Floresville ISD is proud of them as well, proud of her as well. So thank you very much, and we'll make sure we get a special message to her. Okay, moving on to item 2B, spectrum update. She does deserve a lot more than a clap, but thank you so much. Moving on to item 2B, spectrum update. I will call on our city attorney, our city manager, and I was honored today to meet with a lot of the representatives. I believe there was 7 of the Spectrum representatives here today. So the talks really began in full swing. Now there's some issues, and I'm going to let our city attorney our city manager.
Okay. I figured Ms. Turner would love this.
Oh, yes, everybody knows. Okay. Okay, so one of the first things I want to say is that it was a productive meeting, and it was a serious meeting because I didn't realize that Mr. King flew in from Missouri. He was here from Missouri, and he had some comments about your Texas weather. It had changed 3 times since he's been here. But so we wanted to say that we had a meeting, and so as you may or may not realize that there were several different contractors installing for Spectrum. There was a BCom and another B somebody else, and there was 3 or 4. So they all had representatives at the table, as well as the big guy that came in and their attorney. And so we exchanged some niceties, but also the bottom line is that, as I said before, some of them is because we don't know where our lines are. So we were having some trouble with line locates, and some of them they had to admit that they hit some stuff. And they didn't necessarily clean up the way they should have cleaned up. And so we've got to go back and work on our documentation and see how much we can do. So we're going to be doing that next week with them, walking through the nuances. And so it wasn't like they were saying, nope, not our problem. They were saying that there's problems on both ends, and we're going to definitely meet in the middle. The attorneys have agreed to step back and let the staff work together and put it together. But it looks like we're going forward. The thing that did surprise me was, my first question was, okay, guys, when are we done? And they said, well, Henrietta, we've been done since April of 2018. Nobody told me. So it is officially done. So all that major construction stuff is done. But you still will see some Spectrum trucks out there installing. That's actually hooked up. But the major construction part is done. And then the mayor was astute enough to say that, so let's look on and check on those franchise fees. So we may be coming back to you with the ordinance to update our franchise fees. The last time I looked at them, we were doing the minimum. And so we're going to be moving forward to say we need to look at those again. They're expecting it to come. And you can give us the contact for the attorney that specializes in that, so that we can make sure that we collect appropriately. So we're really, really excited about that. So it's not done, and we're not suing each other. We have come to the table to have a discussion to see how we can necessarily make the city whole again, because there were some things. And again, I will admit that there were some things on our part we could have done better, but definitely there were some things on their part they could have done better, and they did say so.
Right, and I was happy to say that the next meeting is going to be within the next 2 weeks. We're not putting it on another one.
No, and so we can keep our feet to the fire. We're going to maintain it on the agenda. But we're meeting the first week in May, and we're meeting with each different contractor because they have the different zones. We're going to be bringing staff together, and I believe everybody calls him Pipe, so what's his real name? Robert, he's coming to me because he does all the line locates. So we're going to come to the table and get it figured out, and then get it back to the attorney so that we can move forward. So I think it was a good meeting, in my opinion. I didn't expect 7 different gentlemen there, but they all came. They took it very seriously and had actually gone through what we had sent them before. So we're ready to sit down at the table to come together to see how we can come up with what exactly damages are left, and that we can actually come to some type of agreement.
And if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but basically going through each street and each situation from their side and our side, and compare notes and what went wrong and what, who was responsible. So it was very, I enjoyed the meeting because it didn't get loud or boisterous. It was very productive. It was very productive. So yes. Thank you for setting that up.
Yeah. Anything, Phil?
It was a long time coming, and I do have to say that Sylvia was, she had a little switch reminding him, and so enough to get on the plane and get here. So that was really important. He said the next one he may take via conference call, but he did show up to show the seriousness that they are committed to make this right and to continue to be a good corporate citizen. So I have to agree with you, Mary. It was a productive meeting.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2C, Better Hearing and Speech Month. We have Speech Strong and Audiology here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Christy Silva, and I'm from Speech Strong. A little bit of background information about Speech Strong is that we were formed in 2014 as a pediatric home health agency. We were operating in San Antonio mostly, and then my husband and I moved back in 2015, and we realized that there was a huge need for services. Many families were forced to travel over 30 miles just to receive the services that their children needed. We're glad and happy to be here and to help eliminate the additional time and expense that these families the additional time and expense for many families by offering the treatment at our new clinic here in town and in their homes. The reason we're here today is to renew the proclamation declaring May as Better Speech and Hearing Month. The purpose of Better Speech and Hearing Month is to raise awareness of the growing amount of our population living with speech, voice, language, and hearing impairment. Approximately 10% of children have moderate to severe communication impairments, including speech, production, articulation, stuttering, and language learning difficulties. Children with these impairments are 4 to 5 times more likely than their peers to experience other learning disabilities, including significant reading problems. Healthcare costs for therapy, devices, and medical care, plus the indirect cost of income loss for people with communicative disorders, are estimated at more than $30 billion per year. Now more than ever, proper education and early detection of communication disorders is essential. With that, I humbly request that you approve the renewal of this proclamation, assisting us in raising awareness of these treatable disorders so that families can learn of the services available to them and to get much needed treatment for their children, allowing them to have a greater success in school and in their daily lives. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Mayor, that is the item of item B under 3B, if you'd like to take that up at this time.
Yes, I was going to go ahead and do that. Council, I'm going to go ahead and go to item 3B, consideration and action to approve proclamation 2019-002 to proclaim the month of May as Better Hearing and Speech Month. Are there any questions by council members or citizens? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve proclamation 2019-002.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Mrs. Martinez. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And I will read part of that proclamation. The National Institute of Deafness and Other Communication Disorders reports that approximately 43 million people in the U.S., 1 in 10 families suffer from a speech, voice, language, or hearing impairment. Approximately 10% of children have moderate to severe communication impairments, including speech, production, articulation, stuttering, and language learning difficulties. Children with speech and language impairments are 4 to 5 times more likely than their peers to experience other language learning disabilities, to include significant reading problems. And furthermore, moving down, during this annual observance, we should focus our attention on the needs of our citizens who have some form of hearing, speech, or language impairment to ensure that everyone has access to audiology and speech-language pathology treatment that will help them lead full and productive lives. Presented by the Floresville City Council on this 25th day of April 2019. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to item 2D, our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council. It's good I was running up there. All right. So here's my report. It was the same report that I had submitted for the last meeting. I'm sorry we weren't able to have a quorum. Going through the list, I'm not going to read it to you, but I do want to say that EDC has transferred the $227,000 for the parking lots The water staff has started, and I believe at the end of tomorrow, they will be complete with what I'm calling the B Street parking lot. That's the one behind Fluffs. So they'll be complete with that. They've had the water testing. They're waiting until the 3 days. Then they're sending to submit that for TCQ to pass, but they actually have the shut off, so we're going forward. As a side note, we have discovered that it did not have a fire hydrant in the back, so we have installed a fire hydrant. But we discovered a old abandoned well that someone thought was a sewer, but it's not. It's an old abandoned well, and so we have the engineers to come and look at it. It's quite interesting. He's saying back 100 years ago, which is how old that well would be, that they had like a community well, like you like literally put the bucket down the hole and brought it up. And so it's running. So we're going to have to see how we can close that well. So you heard the stories of the rumors out there about an open sewer line. It is not a sewer line. It is an old well that actually came uncovered during our time that we're doing the construction. But I do have to commend the water staff. They have worked very, very hard, and the businesses as they're going through this construction. So they're going to continue to the other, which is I'm calling parking lot number A, which will be behind the theater. So they're going to continue over there and start the water project over there. And then our parks, streets team is ready to go to get forward and move forward. So I'm excited. Yeah, it's actually going through. That leads to our downtown ADA sidewalk grant. So we received the order to receive, which is really, really important because they give you the money and the notice, and then you can't start anything until you do that. So we had that, and we had our first phone call. And so that's why in the news, you see them out there doing this survey. So they've done this survey. Now, because we are unique and we are historical, there are some historical hooks and things in the sidewalk. And so we're going to have to identify them, dig them up before the contractor starts. They're going to GPS it so we can put it back in the same location with the new sidewalk with a little plaque that says this is what it is. So they're identifying those, and we're going to have to go dig those up. And I don't know, maybe I'm going to actually keep them someplace close underneath my desk in the office, because 6 months from now, nobody knows where to find them. So we're going to be doing that, but they're doing the actual measurement. Now, we had a preliminary plan, as you remember seeing those plans and all those kind of things, but now it's actually, rubber meets the road. They have to be very exact and precise. And just in case you don't know, the city does not own the entire sidewalk. We own about 2/3 of the sidewalk. 1/3 of the sidewalk actually belongs to the homeowners, the business owners. I think that was because they had those awnings before, and so that was their property. And because this is a historical area, we have to stay a ruler size, so 12-inch off of the foundation of that. So you say, well, they're keeping the old sidewalk and they're taking, I have to stay 12 inches off of the building. And then they can demolish all of that. So if you see that, that's why, because it is a historical area. So we're excited about the downtown. Yes, ma'am.
On those round things that they're gonna take off, are they gonna mark each one where they took it out? Or are they just gonna
No,
take
we're
them
gonna
all out?
mark it because, so we can say that this was in front of the so-and-so when it was originally that back in the 19-something. And I've even found a couple of pictures where they actually hooked up horses there. Just tickling me. So they actually, it was someplace they used to tie the horses on. Can you believe that?
And it just so happens we have the Historical Society.
Yeah, so we're gonna have, they hooked up horses.
Yeah, they had horses.
Yeah. On the sidewalk.
And wagons too.
Wagons too, yeah. Yeah, I just, Sharon's got chicken, this is exciting. So, so we're gonna, yes ma'am, we're gonna mark them. So the engineer has identified them, and then we're gonna mark them. I've been probably over there at Historical Society, I've been going to some of their meetings, so they can help us identify, maybe it'll be one of our stories one night, we talk about the historical downtown, city of Floresville. A good question, this is so, to see it come to fruition is exciting. So, we went to Austin.
Henrietta, while you're at it, can you also indicate that that's actually in keeping with 3D of the agenda?
3D, what?
D.
D.
You're gonna be talking
Oh,
about your
yes.
trip to Austin, which
Yes,
actually.
So the trip to Austin has to do with item 3D, which I will ask you all to table in a few minutes, and I'll explain why.
Thank you for going.
Oh, it was Austin. Ways and Means Committee. So just to let everybody know, and I know we tried to have an emergency meeting, and it's not always easy to have emergency meetings, so I apologize, there was some confusion, but the city of Floresville was contacted by the Texas Hotel and Lodging Association. And there was a bill pending to support which was 1633 by our representative, John Kemple, if I said his name correctly. Okay. And so as you know, the city of Floresville receives hotel motel tax. The state gets 6% and the city gets 7%. And we are at our max. But the maximum you can get is 17% on hotel motel taxes. And so the county, Wilson County, was petitioning to get 4%. Okay. The thing that caught